Okay, so welcome everybody to our wonderful session. And we are talking co-production from the perspective of those with lived experiences. So the service user voices in this. So if we want to go around and introduce ourselves, and Al, are you happy to get us started?
Yep. So my name's Al. It's Al Richards, and basically I'm an expert by experience for my local mental health trust, the first actual expert of experience within the trust, and I help talk about co-production and bring co-production into the room through lived experience to all sections of the trust. So I'm always super busy. Today's my day off, hence why I'm here to learn more about lived experience from somebody else, and to actually maybe able to get some kind of more tips and tricks to kind of help me with my bag of never-ending ideas that I always have to bring into a room with every meeting that I go to. I'm also extremely popular on Twitter, so I'm going to kind of say at Al_Richards_786, and I'm also a champion for equality and diversity as well within the trust, just making sure that those diverse voices are actually heard at the table.
Thank you very much, Al. Thank you. And I can see your Twitter handle there, which is cool. So we can all check you out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Marianne, would you like to introduce yourself? And then we'll go to Shada afterwards.
Yeah, I'm a community builder with Aging Well, Torbay Community Development Trust, and I have my own patch. There are 30 neighbourhoods, and there are 17 community builders who each work in co-production with ABCD, asset-based community development, with people over 50 in Torbay, so in Brixton, Paynton and Torquay. And I'm also the creative community builder for the whole of Torbay, so I get involved with all the fun stuff. Anything fun going on, and I'm there. And I've been helping with getting our contribution together for the toolkit and for the workshops that we've done and the webinar and the other sessions. Yeah,
that's cool. Thank you very much. Shada, would you like to introduce yourself, please? Shada, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. 1 minute. Give me a minute, okay?
Oh, that's fine. Thank you. Okay. Vicky, would you like to go whilst we wait for Shada to
put my music on background, and Viren has put it loud. So, okay. Viren, can you put the music slow, please?
Yeah, I can introduce myself certainly whilst Shada's just getting set up there. So I'm Vicky O'Donoghue. I'm the project lead for the co-production project, supporting the learning for all of the Aging Better partners across the network. But in terms of lived experience, I have my own lived experience of mental health, so I really find it's important to be able to share that in different ways. And although I don't do that in sort of any formal sort of remit, as it were, it's something that I'm really passionate about as well. So yeah, it's very important to me to come from obviously a professional perspective, but also from a personal lived experience perspective as well. And I think it's so important to be open and honest about that.
Thank you very much, Vicky. Thank you. And Shada, are you ready now, Shada? Okay. Well, do come in whenever you're ready, Shada. It would be great to hear, to hear a bit about you as well. And I am Mo. I'm your host for this session. Oh,
hi.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. His remote thing is not playing. So let it be. My name is Sharda, and I'm a full-time carer with a lot of lived experience. Experience of mental health of my elder brother. I had two twins brother, looking after them. A younger sister, I looked after her. and then a family member I care for. 10 years, he's like a robot. Hip replacement, kidney transplant, hernia, vertigo, and gone through the experience of what do you call, 10% of life, what is they call that, dialysis, hemodialysis, machine dialysis. But we have not lost our smile. We're still smiling and we are happy. How did that happen? Is because I used to teach expert by experience for NHS, and I delivered 10 course. I don't know if you know about that, and that gave us a strength. And my partner is a stress management consultant, and I'm a mindfulness now and holistic therapy. But I put my dream in a pending file. I got a dream in my pending file, and I do a little bit of work, casual work, wherever I'm called. It could be either paid or volunteer, and doing a little bit of work for a university at the moment. So that's keeping us busy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Vicky.
Sharda.
Thank you,
Great
Vicky.
to have you here with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll just reintroduce myself. So I am Mo, and I chair the Maternity Voices Partnership, one of the Maternity Voices Partnerships in Surrey. And you might be wondering, shall I ask you, what Maternity Voices Partnerships are? Has anyone heard about Maternity Voices Partnerships here, apart from Vicky?
No.
Okay. Marianne, what do you, oh, did you hear, is this from our last session, Marianne, or we can't hear you? It's okay. We still can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Right.
No,
so
okay.
yeah. And then I looked on your website and
cool.
found the local Brighton branch and everything for my
Yay.
daughter. So yeah, no, it's a fun, I think it's just such a fantastic thing. And I wish it had been around when I had my babies, well, especially my first baby, like 36 years ago almost. So yeah, it would have, I'd have had a very different experience, I think, of pregnancy and birth if you had been around then. Yeah, I wish I'd thought of it, you know, starting it. Well, if I hadn't have been at college and a single parent and working, maybe I would. But yeah, I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you. And I've got to agree with you. I think it's fantastic too. And it basically, it's an approach really that brings together all the stakeholders in this context involved in maternity. So the members of staff who provide the service, the members of staff who commission the service, and the service users themselves. So that would be those representing them, either from individual service users, or it might be from community groups that work with service users. And so basically it's a forum where they all come together, a working group, it's an NHS working group, and they all come together to to make sure that they're centering and listening to service user voice. So that will be collected through a range of different feedback mechanisms, and they're identifying areas, the things that sort of come up in feedback over and over again, where improvements and developments need to happen. And the whole idea is that everybody who uses a service, regardless of any characteristic about them, if you use a service, you're in, your voice is being heard, whether that's through surveys, whether that's through you coming to meetings and participating in activities and discussions that happen there. And your voice is heard, towards making improvements in the maternity service. And ultimately, the goal is that everyone has better outcomes ultimately, because we're constantly improving based on the feedback that we're hearing from those who use the service. Before I move on, does anyone have any questions right now that they sort of want to ask about the Maternity Voices Partnership sort of model that I chair? Any questions from anyone?
I was just
Sharda's popped a question in. Sorry, Sharda, go ahead.
Go ahead, Vicky. You can read for me, please.
So which area of is the services for? Maternity. So this is particularly in the area of maternity. And it's a co-production approach to bring together all the different stakeholders involved, for them to work together to improve the service based on feedback, themes arising from feedback from the service users, from those who use the service. Hopefully that answers your question, Shraddha. Please do feel free to ask.
Is it like the whole of UK, or is it just your area?
Okay, that's a really good question. So this approach, this program is in England. Now there are others. So in some of the other UK countries, so I know, so in Wales, for example, Scotland, you have, and indeed Ireland, you have those who are trying to develop a similar kind of model within their trust in their areas as well, to sort of support maternity development and improvement. But the Maternity Voices Partnerships that I'm talking about is within the context of England. And this is an initiative that came through from the Better Birth Report, which was launched over 5 years ago now. So it's not just in my area.
Are you doing anything in area of Birmingham?
Yeah. So if you go to, and I will try and put it in the chat, and perhaps Vicky, you could help me. So if you go to the National Maternity Voices website, there is there in one of the menu bars, there's a menu that says find an MVP. And if you click on that, there's a map where different MVPs have sort of recorded their details, and you can search for the particular trust that you are after. So if you search for them, you should be able to find out the MVP in that area. And if you don't, then do feel free to complete our contact form on our page, and we'll do our best to get back to you to see the MVP that serves the particular area that you are after. So again, if anyone has any other questions, do please feel free to ask. And thanks, Vicky, for putting the link in. Okay, so Marianne, you've asked, or does it just act on life issues as when they come up from the members of the partnership? Well, not really, because so as a chair, I'm a service user, of course, as well myself, and we go out there. So whether this is virtual or in person, to seek comments and feedback from service users. So this can be in form of surveys. So you could have like surveys for a short period of time, or surveys that are sort of rolling, over a period of time. It could be in the form of maybe organizing like feedback sessions over Zoom or Teams, where you advertise that and bring service users together and you talk to them and they talk to you. I mean, it could take different formats. I mean, I'm so passionate about this that even when I go to places like Tesco or Boots, if I find, if I sort of see, usually it's sort of moms with their babies that I see usually. And I will, sort of introduce myself and say hello and ask about their baby. And I find myself often inquiring about whether they had their baby at my trust. And then I tell them, about the MVP and ask them about their experience, if they don't mind. Of course not, they don't go into any long detail, but sort of just overall. And, we'll tell them about the MVP and tell them about our Facebook page and how they can sort of get involved very briefly. And they're able to contact, for more detail afterwards if they want to. Yeah, so it's not, so I'm not just there to talk about, because I've had 3 experiences now at the same trust. And, my experiences are unique to me. Of course, there's sort of commonalities to other people, but I'm not just there to talk about my experience. And in fact, I'm very mindful that I'm there to bring forward the themes from the range of feedback that we sort of receive. So we don't deal with individual, we cannot address an individual complaint or concern, even though I could signpost people. So I could say, you need to contact, the hospital at this point, or get that information from there. But we look at the themes across board, and then that's what we bring forward to sort of work on and see what we can do about it. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, well, that's exactly what my daughter's doing. she's a research project. She's trying to find women at the moment who've had babies who are acceptable to be found, like not friends or family, as I said, to have an online interview with her about their experience of the maternity services during COVID. So yeah, that would be a theme, wouldn't it? I mean, that, you know, that might be something. Would that be something that you'd be interested in looking at? And also, she could sign. I think she's already done the printed out thing, but maybe she could add it. She could signpost people to you as well, couldn't she? She could tell the people that she's interviewing all about you.
Absolutely, and it will be great. I mean, there are lots and lots of research going on out there, and so when we don't necessarily have capacity to sort of tell like all service users out there about them, you know. However, we're very, very happy to, you know, for researchers to tell service users about their MVP, you know, encourage them to sort of get in touch, because it's such a useful place, you know, and useful point of empowerment really for service users. However, on Facebook, there are quite a number of groups that have sprung up during the pandemic to support you know, sort of families during this time. So that might be an avenue for your daughter to sort of search Facebook and see if she could contact the admins of some of these groups, because they perhaps might be better placed to you know, share her research, you know, sort of call outs and things like that. But yeah, we can talk afterwards. You know, feel free to email me. Okay. And I didn't mean, I must say, for the introduction to sort of take this amount of time, but I thought, well, since it's only a few of us, that we could sort of just, you know, relax and have this conversation. So going back to the main theme, looking at co-production from that sort of service user lived experience, you know, sort of perspective, I could tell you about what brought me to this, you know, why I am this passionate about this. We could talk about co-production with service users in general. And definitely, I think it's very important as well to explore and consider the challenges as well. You know, co-production is a new approach, relatively new approach. Of course, some people have been doing it in some form or the other, you know, sort of from years past, but it's one that has really come to the fore now, you know, and a lot of people are thinking about it. The maternity services, I think, are quite ahead in the engagement with it as an approach and a tool to engage with and really center the voices of those that are using the service to help with improving the service and developing it so that everyone has better outcomes ultimately. But there are challenges to it, you know, we're sort of getting used to this, and that is across board, you know, those who provide the service, those who commission it, and those who are using it. So if I may ask, what, since we're very few here, what would you particularly find useful to cover in the sort of the remaining 29 minutes that we have? What will be useful? So if I just sort of go around really quickly, and if I start with Al, if you don't mind, if I start with you again, what would you find particularly useful to cover for the rest of our conversation together?
I suppose for me, although I do co-production, it'd be nice to actually know probably more of the barriers to how I'm actually doing it, and what are the barriers that kind of pop up, and may be able to kind of navigate through them. Okay, so sort of really looking at the barriers. Okay, thank you. Marianne, are there any sort of, you know, any part of, you know, what I've said that you would particularly like to explore more in the rest of our conversation, apart from barriers to co-production?
Yeah, the opposite. What works? What's been working? Okay,
so yeah. So what makes it happen? You know, perhaps even maybe the benefits, possibly. Okay.
Even the practicalities of how you get people, all of those people together in a meeting at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. We can do that. Sharda, is there any particular area that you would like to explore or discuss?
Yeah, I would like to. Two things. First, I got to answer for our colleague. He's talking about co-production. We got the expert here, Vicky. She's a brilliant person for co-production. Other one is, for me, is how can I get involved? How can I be part of your expert by experience person in your group? I know you've given the website, but how can I actually be involved? Is it a paid work or is it a volunteering work? Is there any training involved? To talk about all that, you know, for service users' point of view.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Vicky, I'm going to look to you. Vicky, are you able to please just help me bullet points those points in the chat so I don't forget? So I know that we've got sort of looking at actually how to make it work. You know, what are those things that really sort of the catalyst almost, you know, to sort of, you know, make it work for us. And then we have the challenges to it, those barriers. But also, I think Sharda raised some very, very important ones to look at. You know, how can people get involved, particularly, using perhaps the MVPs as an example. You know, is it paid? You know, is there any sort of funding in relation to it? What about training as well? I think is another point that Sharda raised. And Sharda, if I've missed any point, please feel free to add it to the chat as well. And I think Vicky is helping me. Okay, so if we start with the barriers, because that's kind of like the sort of more challenging bit, and then we move on and hopefully end on the notes of, you know, what sort of makes it work really well. So barriers, I'm going to throw that out to you before I say anything. So in your experience of co-production, what barriers have you sort of come up against? Anyone? Feel free to just talk, or, you know, use the hand raise button feature as well, if that is better for you. So I
think for me, it's always been about power, and actually people not being able to let go of it in a meeting anywhere. It's almost like they invite me to a meeting to keep me quiet for the hour or two, and then to just tick the box to say, yeah, you've been here. But it's trying to, when you go into a room, you're usually on your own. There's usually about 10 to 12 people in a meeting. They've all got lovely titles, which always makes everybody kind of a bit kind of apprehensive, because these are psychiatrists and doctors and PhDs, and there I am, just somebody who's used their service. And, you know, I mean, for me, I've at least gotten past that barrier by actually saying I'm an expert by experience, and that actually scares a lot of the professionals, because I'm calling myself an expert by experience. So that means I trump them. So I've already dealt with that barrier, but it is actually them letting go and them not being so almost prissy about the service. It's almost like I go in and I've basically bullied their children. They feel as though, you know, they have such a loyalty to their job, which to me, I look at and go, well, you know, if you died tomorrow, nobody would care. They'd just replace you in a minute. So they get so guarded about everything that they do, and they just want to hold on to everything that they have. And it's me trying to then get through that. I like to talk to them. I like to really kind of try and build a relationship with them. And there are mutual kind of ways that I've managed to do that with a number of people, where they've actually stuck up for me in meetings, which is very interesting. But there are some that are just so, I think, hell-bent on the power. They just don't want to let go for anyone, not just me. And I think when I come into a room, obviously I don't have these PhDs, I don't have these graduate things. I'm just, you know, somebody who's a regular person who's used the service and who has experience of that service, but also bring in other people's experience. But it just seems as though I'm kind of poking the hornet's nest when it comes down to it. So yeah, power is a massive issue.
Yeah, thank you. It's a lot of really good points raised in that. One of the things with the MVP that we sort of really emphasize. Now, of course, how this plays out practically will vary, you know, from place to place. But sort of as part of the feature of the model of the sort of the MVP approach is that there's equal power, no hierarchy. So whether you come as staff with all your, you know, big titles and big pay, or you are, you know, you're kind of seen as a sort of humble, you know, service user voice, that we don't have that. You know, we all come together recognizing that we bring different expertise, you know, different perspectives, and all of them are valuable, all of them. you know, and we need all of them to help, you know, every one of us to move forward. And this is something that kind of needs to keep on being embedded, really, you know, in every meeting, everywhere. Whether that is almost reading out a statement at the start of the meeting, you know, in documents, you know, that are shared, that we all come, you know, all of us with all that we have to offer, you know, on an equal plane, and we can put it out there. And I find that really helpful. I'll go to Sharda now, who's got a hand raised.
Okay, thank you. I was just listening to our colleague here, Richard. I also, you know, work for BUC in Birmingham as an expert by experience in teaching relaxation. But, you know, like to be in a field of co-production or to be in a field of statutory organization or a volunteering organization, challenging in a certain way, you know, you can express your feelings that, look, I do this, I like to do that, you know, you can express. But all the time we are challenging. People don't want to know you. This is what I see when other people face to face, they used to come to the group meetings and I'm there completely. I was very shy. I'm able to speak now. And people are, you know, all the time challenging. And, you know, in a lockdown, you know, everyone is sensitive. Everyone is tired. So you put your request forward, all that. And, you know, you will know in your heart who is going to support you, who is not going to support you. But in spite of all that, you know, like I am from West Midlands and I'm Indian, right? Indian lady in this area. And 40 years I've been working in this area. And a lot of people know what I do and everything. Those who wants me, they will call me. Those who don't want to know, they won't. So you still march forward. Don't look left. Don't look right. Learn from your past experience and move forward. And now government wants good people, help them to develop all the project like yourself. Everything government is looking for good service users, well behaved. Yes, illness is there. It's okay, we can understand. But that's what government is needing, and we need to help them. We need to help our government grow so that our citizens are healthy, they have got good jobs, mentally, you know, look at the news yesterday. Mental illness, young people, my God, right? So we have to start working towards the mind. So in your co-production, include relaxation, include health and well-being. Those kind of things in the co-production would be very, very useful, rather than just the structure of the work. Not only that, include relaxation. You know, how can we make the service user relaxed? How can we make the staff more relaxed so that your work becomes like a family? We are all big family, rather than put our roles in front of us. You know, that's what I believe. I mean, I've got a lot of awards and everything, but I never advertised all that because I become a carer myself. So I put all my dream in a pending file. But still, you know, you don't say, oh, me. You help. And I've done that for 40 years. And now, after, you know, I joined the aging group with Vicky and another coordinator. And it has opened my eyes. 2 top leaders I have met in my life in 40 years. 2 top leaders. And we need to hold on to them. Don't let them go. Don't let them go. Especially Vicky.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
No, finish your sentence. Sorry, I thought you had finished.
Yes, I said don't let go of good leaders.
Yes.
Don't let go of them. Government needs them. Vicky is a very good example, national work. She's done national work and she should be rewarded up to the government level. Somebody should write what she has done. She's a very good leader. Very, very good leader. She supported me, I would say. 1 year I worked with her. I only met her once, face to face. And we sat together and I said, I do this. I didn't know I will be doing this webinar because of them. I sit on the webinar. I'm on a steering group. Okay. My God, congratulations. You know, what more to say? You got an expert like her.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ada. Thank you. And I think I'm gonna also go back to another thing here, training. You know, I really wonder the extent to which part of the power struggle and some of those challenges is down to the fact that people don't understand the role of the expert by experience. There isn't enough understanding of what co-production involves, you know, sort of that sort of the equal playing field that we come to it as, regardless of all the different titles, you know, sort of other sort of professional hats that we wear. And I really wonder if one of the ways through this barrier is training, that multidisciplinary training for everyone. So with the MVP, the National Maternity Voices, which is the association of independent lay service user chairs of MVPs in England, they offer a multidisciplinary training for the whole MVP, but also training for service users and chairs, so that everybody sort of develops the understanding of, well, the approach that we're using, and also the part that they have to play within that approach. And I really wonder if that is part of the way forward, you know, that training to help everyone understand their role within it, and to let go. One of the things I found in my experience is just we need to keep on talking and sort of sharing with the others on the group, you know, how we feel, and you know, the impacts of certain choices, and, you know, why service user voice needs to be heard, and what service users, you know, sort of the value in hearing those voices, the cost saving, that's a big one. You know, you save money, you know, sort of because you're doing things that would actually work. Yeah, I'll stop there because I could go on. Does anyone else want to come in before we move on? And actually, we probably need to move on soon to the other topics that we want to discuss. But would anybody else like to come in?
Yeah, could I? Yeah, our gentleman just said that, you know, I'm involved in people of color because I come from an Indian background. So I'm ethnicity. So you're not the only one, Richard. I'm also here. I'm in a color of people group. Other thing I want to say was, you mentioned about the training for expert by experience. What can we do? Yes, give them a good training, very good training, so that at the university level they can actually take a leading role of coordinating the other expert by experience as an example, not just full lifetime expert by experience. You know, we are expert by experience, right? But we are qualified people as well, you know, qualification we have got. And I was very surprised, like I did some dancing activities for one of the project, right? And Vicky picked up and she said, Sharda, we want you to do some dancing. I said, dancing? It really motivated me, you know. She's done my clip, right? And she encouraged me to do some dancing, and she encouraged me to use my skills. Me and my partner, both of us did relaxation. So this is what the expert by experience are getting. And in your organization, do the same. Give them some role, respect them, what skills they have. Don't find people from outside. Find people from within the expert by experience, what skills they have. Pick up their skills and use their skills, you know, like writing. I've got another coordinator. She keeps making us write. So she picked up my writing skills, and all that we are doing it. So pick up the skills of expert by experience and have them, employ them in a long term, because these people will be very, very committed to your work and will help you, will assist you. And you can set an example in NHS or even a council. So let expert by experience have kind of a good role, not just be an expert by experience all their lives. Give them a kind of a casual work or a casual skills, so they are recognized. And by setting up this good example, let it be an example of the national-wide of the UK. So all the organization knows. And I'm so lucky, you know, like I've got my coordinator for Birmingham. She's brilliant. Aging Better, I would say Aging Better has given me a lot. 1 year, you know, I didn't know anything about webinar, toolkit, wiki. My God, you don't know what skills she has. When she types, she can put all the color, this, that. We can have her to give us training, you know, train us, expert by experience, how to use the whiteboard, how to do all these things. And Vicky has got all that skills, training. You don't know what she has. So get that on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And, you know, thanks to Vicky and her team and all the work that you've done. You know, it's just important, really. The more skilled people are, the more they're able to bring to the fore, isn't it? Okay. So before I sort of move on to the points that Marianne and Shada raised in terms of actually how we do it better, you know, what are those sort of good practice ways of doing it better, and then how to get involved, you know, in the first place and funding related. I wonder if you wanted to come in or say anything else again before we move on, bearing the time in mind.
No, there wasn't.
Okay. Has this been helpful at all? Kind of just the sort of exploring the point that you raised. Has it been helpful?
Yeah, I think it's given me kind of a different way of actually seeing it. And actually, I suppose, you know, what Shada's also said about kind of being able to have kind of things such as relaxation would actually, because that's not something I've actually ever thought about. So I think, you know, it's something to hopefully embed so that actually other service users as well as myself don't get so stressed out actually doing a lot of this work, because it can actually make you unwell doing a lot of it.
Yes, that self-care is very key, isn't it? Because it can be such a battle pushing through. And I find as well the NHS culture, if you're entirely outside of the NHS, is a whole different culture. And they have, you know, other pressures and just you know, it's very interesting kind of coming from outside and interacting with all that the NHS is, you know, in terms of staff interacting with service users. I do think that's a good idea. One other thing I would just say very quickly about barriers as well is I find sometimes as well with co-production time, it doesn't have to be time consuming, but sometimes it can be time consuming. And if you have a situation where there isn't, you know, there's staff shortages, for example, or, you know, sort of a lot of other pressures that staff are dealing with, that kind of, you know, puts extra challenge in terms of co-producing with service users. But again, if it's done, you know, if the time is given, it does save money eventually, because you know that you are, you know, creating a service that works for those who need it. Less complaint, you know, more time to do other things. Okay, so now sort of moving on to looking at sort of how to get involved at all, you know, if sort of funding is available or not, and also kind of how to actually make it work really, really well. Al, I wonder if I could come to you again. You know, at the start, you sort of shared with me how it took you quite a while to get funding sorted, you know, for your role, and indeed how you're the first to do that role in your trust, in the particular service that you work with. Do you want to sort of, do you have like a minute also just to share with us your experience with that?
I mean, I've been doing co-production for about 3 years now, and I've actually been with the hospital trust for about that long. And I'm very proud of actually the work that I've done so far. I mean, I know it has taken 3 years for actually people to be paid, which of course is a massive thing when it comes down to actually people doing this kind of work for free, because a lot of us actually do it for nothing but actually self-satisfaction and actually knowing that we're helping the greater good. But I would say that, you know, it has taken a lot of dedication and a lot of hard work to actually be able to also prove myself. I think there is a level of being able to prove that you are willing to be able to go onto a table, you are willing to shatter those kind of expectancies and those kind of images that people have of us as weak people who are patients just receiving care. And I think, you know, I've really changed the, I'm still working away at the culture of the organization. Give me a few years for that. But I do think that, you know, it is very time and labor intensive. So I would say that if you're not fully committed, if you're not able to go through a lot of those barriers, and, you know, coupled with mental health, when your mental health goes down, you're still almost expected to attend. And I've done that whilst I've been down as well. Just because I think believing in the vision, and actually that is what actually brought me through a lot of this, because I've always seen that at the end of this, I will get what needs, you know, what I will get. And I think the good thing is that now we're also looking at lived experience roles, and that is a massive thing. So I'm helping co-construct what a lived experience type role works and what that actually will look like in the future. But the good thing is that, you know, they're so scared about, oh my God, lived experience. And I just said, let's start out small. You know, we've got band 2s at a peer support workers level. Why don't we actually do something that, you know, is starting from a band 2, slowly working its way up? Because obviously when you look at lived experience roles, usually they start at band 6, band 7s, from what I've seen. And people are very worried about investing that amount of money into one person who obviously has mental health problems and could go up as well as down. So it's about actually cushioning that role with a lot of psychological kind of interventions, support for that person, so that way they, you know, they're cushioned from all ways possible. And I'm very proud to actually be part of doing that work to make sure that it is embedded within our trust. So I mean, that's actually a really good thing when it comes down to actually being able to do something positive, and where co-production actually works if you have the right people around you and you're able to flourish. Yes.
Thank you so much, Al. Thank you. And it's an interesting one about the sort of having it as a role, isn't it? I'm very conscious that we've got about 5 minutes to go, so I'll be really quick. Because, you know, sort of one of the things that has come up in some of the conversations that I've had is the issue of independence, you know, and sort of maintaining that kind of, should we say, critical friend voice, you know, with the trust. And if they're employing you in terms of like as an employment, then could that be like that sort of, you know, the sort of conflict of interest issue of sort of feeling that you're beholden to them, and you have to sort of have a sense of loyalty because, you know, they're paying you a salary, versus being a post holder and being sort of receiving a kind of honorarium, you know, in that role, and how might those two work together? So that would be something worth perhaps looking at and investigating, you know, as we sort of explore those different ways really of evolving service user voice. And I know, Shada, you've got your hand up, and I'll come to you in a minute. I'm sort of just looking at the time. We've got 4 minutes to go. So I'm just going to answer your questions really quickly from before in terms of how to get involved. With the Maternity Voices Partnership, and I'm sure it will be different for different services, but with the Maternity Voices Partnership, is literally going to the National Maternity Voices website, going to the Find an MVP map, and then finding the MVP that is nearest to you. If you can't find it, if you just fill out a contact form, and then we'll sort of just see if we can support, we get the information that you need. And literally it will be as simple as, you know, sending them an email. So you can send them an email and express your interest, and the chair or whoever it is that picks up the email will respond to you for that particular local MVP, you know, how you can sort of get involved. And there'll be a number of ways that you can get involved, from as simple as responding to surveys if you've had a baby at that trust within a certain period of time, it might be specified, to sort of volunteering for a certain period of time every month and becoming a rep, supporting the gathering of feedback. So that would vary. And the other thing I was going to Marianne's point about the ways to do it. I'm so sorry that we only have we don't have too long left. And I'm happy to have this discussion beyond. But I would say, you know, it is as simple as getting people around the table. So having a meeting where in that meeting you have representation from, you know, the service users, the staff, and making sure, you know, I'll raise the point about being like the only voice. So with the MVP structure, we sorry, that's my little baby. We encourage, we sort of say that it's in terms of the MVP membership, a third of it should be service user voice or representation in one way or the other. And that will support you not kind of being the service user, not being like the lone single service user voice, you know, in the meeting. So encouraging more service users to get involved and sort of really communicating practically that their voice really does matter, I think is probably a way forward, you know, with co-production. I mean, like I said, Marianne, we might have to sort of, you know, speak again at another time to sort of get into the nuts and bolts of that. But with the 1 minute left, shall I go very quickly to Sharda, because you had a point that you wanted to make?
Yes, I just want to highlight our colleague here, Marianne. I attended one of her session, community builder. It was very, very amazing, you know, community builder. And she's made an organization of so much information she has known, right? But I just wanted to address that. But, you know, my colleague was saying that, you know, it could be users, it could be expert by experience or staff or anybody in a field of volunteering status. One must always remember to relax yourself first. If you're not relaxing, you know, your mind will be all over the place. So if you're more relaxed and grounded, then you can produce a lot of good things in your life, you know. And if you got bread and roof, that is enough for us. Once we have that, then we go out and explore things, help people. So always take care of yourselves. Like our colleague says, he's getting too much done. Look after yourself, number one, you know, give yourself me time. Me time is very important. And then help the authority and anything, you know, we are open for a discussion. You know, expert by experience for nearly 25 years, I would say 25 years. So would be happy to help you. Any of you guys will help you. Can collect our emails from Wiki, or if we are registered with you, you will have our emails. Thank you so much for inviting me here, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for coming and for participating. Thank you so much. And I'll just put in the chat, if you don't mind, sort of just commenting on the session. You know, what did you find helpful, if anything? You know, what could have been better, if anything? You know, and any other sort of suggestions or ideas that you have.